town money.
What was here? Where's Rod?
He was talking with us.
Stop to talk to somebody.
I do not know. Can I ask a question?
Just gonna wait a second, see if Dan, there he is.
Was it? Wasn't my week to keep track of him.
With that, all 5 members of Public Works are here, and we will start with item number 41. Resolution granting a permanent easement by the City of West Dallas to Wisconsin Gas LLC to install a pipeline on the property located at 6215 West National Avenue.
Move for approval.
Moved by Alderman Chaplowski,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Weigel. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman
I
Rowe.
did not get to see the attachments. What is it?
It's just it's an easement, for a gas main going to that building that is just west of the old chalet.
The
Okay.
old stool place.
It's right next to, the building is right adjacent to or next to the property line.
So it's
There's no
going on
way
the
to get-
parking lot?
Yeah, so the effect on the parking lot is minimal if
Okay.
if the gas company ever has to come back and redo the line or anything, they have to fix the plantings and put the plantings back and everything else.
Yeah, the pipe just goes through all the landscaping. I don't think
Yeah.
it goes through the actual.
And you're talking about 8 feet wide. I mean, even if something's built on there someday after, we don't want the parking lot there in the building, 8 feet's not a whole lot of room. So,
Thank you.
the effect is
Minimal.
at worst.
Any further discussion? It's been moved by Alderman Chaplowski, seconded by Alderman Weigel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Number 42, Downtown West Dallas Business Improvement District communication regarding the Downtown West Dallas Christmas on the Avenue
Move
schedule.
approval. Second. Yeah.
Moved by Alderman Weigel. That was pretty close. We're gonna give it to Alderman Ranky for the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Number 43, communication from Alderman Michael May regarding proposed implement of neighborhood traffic management program for the City of West Dallas. Mike?
Yeah, this was introduced at the last meeting. I did not get any phone calls or emails from anyone on it. The only, the 2 items I want to emphasize for the board here is that, number one, this is basically fill-in work. I mean, our priorities are towards the projects that are approved through the budget, the CIP, the street program and whatnot, and the facilities, buildings in there. Again, if people are demanding something faster than we can provide, we can always consult that out, but of course, as Alderman May specifies in his document here, that would be passed on to the people who are demanding faster action. And along with that is that any of the solutions that are provided to people are based on traffic engineering studies and traffic engineer principles and practices, not that just a bunch of people come in there and say that the trucks are driving 60 miles an hour down their alley. And their front street is a German Autobahn. No. It's based on facts and it's based on the numbers.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Rowe.
But if that neighborhood decided against engineering standards or whatever you said, and they were willing to pay for it,
That's not how it's written up in here.
okay.
It's written up as that it is based on engineering practices and principles. Because what impacts one neighborhood, one street, impacts the side streets. I mean, you can't just have it in that one street section. It impacts everybody. I mean, many years ago, Alderman, I know you remember the discussions regarding blocking off or blocking, what was that, No, not Rogers, 67th in Livingston.
Yeah, cul-de-sacing some streets over there.
Cul-de-sacing that over there. And all it does, as I believe that was before your time, Alderman Rowe, all it does is impact the other streets, because that traffic will go someplace and will find its way somewhere else. We don't want to push the problem. We want to fix the problem if there is a problem, but we don't want to push the problem somewhere else.
I think in the past, even without this, whenever we've had a problem with a certain part of the city or traffic, I can remember 100th Street, I can Schlinger, there's many, we've come to you and over time, we would do either measurements. I know that we would put out counters. We would put out speed things. We did it on Trucker Drive. We did it Theater Trucker Drive. We did it on 109th Street. To me that this wasn't necessary because we already would come. The only thing that's different here is that if we do come up with something, is that then they have to pay for it through the special assessment. But I think anything else in here, anytime over the past 24 years that I came with something with a particular street, all this was done and recommendations were made, and most of the time through the engineering studies, we found out that it really wasn't as severe in most cases. But we did come up with a solution on 109th that has seemed to work. So to me, this was, and my little bit of fright is that we'll get a whole bunch now of requests, and then when it goes to the part where, okay, if there is a payment solution, as proven in the city of Milwaukee, I think isn't it like a zero that when it went in front of the people that they had to finally pay for it? Isn't it zero? They've all turned them down? Or is it one?
There was a few out of the,
So the success
a few out of
rate
many.
is
Yeah.
extremely
It's less than
low.
1%.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's, okay, but it's nothing we haven't been doing, and I kind of like the way it works now, but that's my opinion.
If it does become a problem, some unknown problem today, I mean, we'll certainly bring
Have
that
to-
back to the
have to
board
address
and
it.
ask to fix it.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Alderman Ranky.
An alderman gets a lot of requests for things. We don't always agree with the people, but we have to listen to them, and we bring it to you, and sometimes you say it's a good idea, and sometimes you say it's not a good idea. Now, you're saying that basically, we won't always grant them what they want. What if they bring a petition in, the whole neighborhood that is impacted, because they bring the petition in, they're serious, will you still be able to turn them down for their request?
Well, we would make that recommendation to the board here to turn down that request. I mean, ultimately, this is a policy decision by the board and common council, no matter what happens here. And, regardless of this, if you pass this tonight, regardless of this, you can still, as a board, put in as many beloved stop signs as you want.
Favorite thing, your pet peeve.
So again, I mean,
Don't
you
buy
can,
into it.
you always have that power as a deciding body, as an elected body, to make an exception to your policy. I mean, you do that with sole source purchases, for example.
Right.
We make this, we make this exception because we feel it's necessary.
Well, I just wanted that clarified, because the people, if they've gone through the trouble of getting a petition, like I said, they're very serious. And if, with all those workings, if we still turn them down, that's kind of defeating the purpose of this whole program.
Well, you get petitions a lot, and you turn down a lot of
Right,
petitions.
we do.
Based on studies and based on,
Right.
on the facts.
And I
People
would-
perceive it as 60 mile an hour down the alley so many times,
Yes.
I like to find one car that actually does it, but
Yeah.
besides the point.
And I spoke last meeting of my concerns also. To me, the cost of doing whatever they want to do in their neighborhood is a deterrent for them. Once they find out that they're going to be assessed on this, so going through all the, I'll put it this way, rigmarole of getting the petition and all the things that are involved, and the permission of the engineering department as well, and the work the engineering department probably will go through for these people. It's still an assessment, and people tend to say, we pay high taxes in West Dallas, and these taxes should pay for this safety measure in our community. So, and given that the people basically won't wanna pay for it. They won't wanna pay extra for it, so is it a worthwhile program if you go through all this and the people decide they don't wanna pay the assessment?
That's a valid point, Alderman. That's exactly the same point as you'll be taking a look at the next two items after this one. I mean, we've done a lot of work to get to the point of bringing the two street projects to you. Yes, that is a valid concern, valid point. And if we have, I mean, if it turns into that we have a lot of these, or that we're having problems, again, we'll be bringing that to you and address those problems and make the corrections in the program. But yeah, it's
Okay,
a valid point.
will we be basically monitoring this kind of a program?
Yes.
And be able to, stop it at any point if we want to?
Yes. What you act upon can't be unacted upon
Okay.
anytime.
Or act upon again.
You've done that to me, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Who is that? Alderman Weigel.
in as much as this is a communication, does this just need to be approved, placed on file?
Yes, we're asking for approval, and then we'll review it with, there's other parts in here regarding finance, and along with the city attorney's office, if there has to be any ordinance or policy changes.
So,
whatever.
a move approve and place on file.
Second.
Been moved by Alderman Weigel, seconded by Alderman Ranky. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Number 44 and 45 were tonight's
Move for approval.
Second.
moved by Alderman Chaplusky, seconded by Alderman Weigel. Further discussion? Alderman Chaplusky.
No one ever asked anything about curbs when they did my whole neighborhood, 56, 57. Is this a engineering thing, or, you know?
We are still reviewing it.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Frankly,
I just
we are
never heard of
not,
it.
frankly, I'm not sold on it yet, so,
Oh.
but we're reviewing it. And I'm sure it'll be coming to you.
Mr. Chair.
Just the final decision on the curb for 87th will probably become between Michael, myself, and you. I would believe that when we'll have discussions on that in the near future and come up with some kind of a consensus plan. So Alderman Rote, was that?
Yeah, I heard the street, 77th Street, 20 times tonight. What happened? Why do they keep referencing that?
I don't think it was out of the, you just had your street done. I mean,
I mean, they just, every
It's a
person
very
said, what they did on 77th, did you see 77? What they did on,
it looked pretty normal to me.
Okay.
It's-
They had the water main, they had a water main issue, and that delayed it, and I think the lights being out during the fair
Yeah, that was a
were a little disconcerting for people.
okay, which leads me to lights, the LED lights. Are we gonna do them, the problems we had on Montana and 85th? Are we gonna do them one on each side of the street, or just one side of the street again? What are we doing?
One side of the street only.
Okay.
If we have individual complaints,
Are we gonna take the
Well,
diffusers out then?
we'll act accordingly. Some people want it, of course, bright all over, some of them want it specified, so they are kind of all over the board, not necessarily the complaint that we had on Montana. But we'll try to deal with them, like I mentioned in the newspaper, we'll try to deal with them individually when we get them and do the best we can. But we've got no intention of doubling our costs and putting lights on both sides anymore. It's just not needed.
Wires on both sides.
Alderman Chaplusky.
Like I said, I went through this a couple of years ago. It's dirty, it's long, it's aggravating. I mean, there's nothing, when it's going on, there's nothing good about it. But when it's all done, streets are nice, I love the lights. And now that the whole neighborhood has those lights, I think it's tremendously, especially except for the different color grass. But Otherwise, you know, after it's all done, you know, you look back and it's worth it and everything, but, you know, you gotta figure from April till end of September, October, it's just miserable. And it's just something that has to be done.
And just to echo on the comments, and, you know, we show the map all the time of all the streets that have been done, and every year, we do at least 2, 3, 5 streets without fail, and almost everybody in the city has gone through this, and it is a absolute huge inconvenience to have to park pretty far away from your driveway, have to carry stuff, especially for the people that don't have alleys. It's a pain. It is a pain, and we know it, and the people that go through it. But once it is complete, everybody that I've seen, that people on 88th Street, I know somebody that lives there, and they just love it now and happy it's over. But it is a pain, and we realize that. I mean, we heard it loud and clear. I think there is some things that, like the young lady said about the water shutoffs, I think we should be looking at and demand at least, like, you know, 12 or 24-hour notice that they can't touch that water unless. I think there's some things we should approve on, and I think you heard them tonight, and hopefully we will take some of those things into consideration, because, man, I can't imagine somebody coming through and just saying we're shutting your water off and not telling me when it's going to go back on, and going, you know, I got nothing, I didn't prepare for it. That to me is uncalled for, and if that happened to her, that's to me that's just wrong.
Most of those cases are emergencies, though, where
Well, if it's an emergency, you know, that something broke.
you know, a man-made emergency where they crushed it by accident or something.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so,
Mr. Chair.
yeah, Alderman May?
I want to echo what Alderman Barzak said. Well, first of all, it takes chaos to make progress. I think that's sort of a short civil engineering way of putting it. But to the comments that were made with the dust, you know, can we require wet saws be
we do.
used?
So I don't know what was happening here.
Is there an inspector there?
Yeah, that's
Actually not, you know, usually they're sawing in the middle of the night. We don't actually pay someone to be there at midnight, so.
If they were using water, they were going through
Yeah.
saw blades like,
Well, those diamond blades get hot.
and they would be going through those blades like, and they cost money. So if somebody was out there doing it dry, as their foreman, I'd fire him because he cost me a fortune in blades.
And the other part of that is they would be breathing it. I mean, they'd be consuming that same
They
thing.
have a mask, I think.
Well, not every employee walking around doesn't probably have a mask on, so I mean, not only, you know, as the resident, but other people have to, so, yeah.
And last, I think with utilities, there is a requirement that a certain notice be given by state law. And so that, I mean, obviously, we shouldn't have to put it in the spec, but maybe we should reference it in the spec.
It is in there,
It is.
but like I said, I think most of these cases are emergencies where the
Yeah.
water's gushing and
That makes
they
sense.
gotta. take
We'll
care
come back
of
in
it.
12 hours.
We notify people.
So, with that, on.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Ranky.
It's okay. Do we pursue finding parking for these people?
Yes,
Um, I mean, from the schools, if there's one near?
we, I think it's safe to say that we've bent over backwards to find them parking.
Okay.
And make temporary, I mean,
Temporary permits.
temporary
Yeah.
permits, temporary locations, bag signs. I mean,
Okay.
whatever we can possibly do to minimize the problem.
Because that seems to be a big concern of most of
It
them.
always is, and rightly so.
Okay, thank you.
With that, number 44 and number 45 have been moved by Alderman Chapletsky, seconded by Alderman Weigel. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. That is it for Public Works. The meeting will now be turned over to Michael Chapletsky, Chairman of License and Health.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. We have items number 51 and 52. Those are. These are used car vehicle.
Move for approval, subject to necessary requirements, 51 and 52.
Second.
So moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Then we have number 53. This is a, let's see, music permit application.
Move approval. This is just the indoor live music trumpet event.
Oh, okay, because I noticed one.
Yep, I
Do I have
said
a
one AM.
second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And we have 54. Let's see, and then 55, which is a summons complaint, basically be placed on file. And 56, another auto dealer, and 57, withdrawal of a license. So I have a motion on those 4 items.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is all. Do a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? So nobody's in favor, and nobody's opposed?
Oh, we have a supplemental license and health? Oh,
No.
No, that's
No,
a different,
that's-
that's different
yeah.
committee, never mind.
yeah, that's somebody else.
Okay.
Is everyone available around 6 PM on the 17th for special meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
That was when it was scheduled already, right?
yeah, 'cause we got the
Well,
19th.
there's a hearing on